Welcome to video 9 in the series. In this video we will add dimensions to a house plan using AutoCAD 2024. For reference again, this is what the floor plans should look like by the end of the video. We'll start off by creating a new layer. Let's go to the Layer Properties Manager and click on New Layer. Let's call it GA Dimensions. For the color, we want that to be index color 7, white or black, depending on the background. And a line weight of 0.18 is fine. Let's make that layer current and close the palette. Do notice that the hatching and layouts layer are both hidden at the moment, but that's entirely fine. So when you're drawing dimensions, you can use this section of the ribbon, but it's best at this stage to go to the Annotate Ribbon section of the ribbon and click on this little icon here just to pull out a dimension style manager. You'll probably only see ISO 25 and standard. I have another style here called my dim style because I have had dimensions on the drawing at an earlier point just to help with sizing and so on to make sure it's clear what's on the videos. But we're going to create a new dimension style because that's probably what you need to do at this stage. Let's call it GA dim style, dim being short for dimension, of course. And it does use ISO 25 as a reference point when creating it. Let's click continue. So we'll change a number of settings on the first 5 tabs here. Let's start off with the lines tab, and the dimension lines themselves, we change the color, the line type, and the line weight all to by layer. And then for the extension lines, we'll change the color and the line type extensions all to by layer, line weight by layer. And then extend beyond the dim lines, we'll make that 100. And it will start to change the preview window here. Let's not worry about it until all the settings are finished though. So offset from the origin 100. And let's go to the symbols and arrows tab next. So let's pick architectural tick. It should automatically update both of the first and the second ticks to architectural tick. And then we can choose dot for the leader. This is what I generally use for my dimensions for angles and various things like that, although it's unlikely we'll need to use any of those. Potentially maybe for something on the elevation, but we'll see at a later point. So the arrow size needs to be 100, and again this makes the preview window look very odd at this stage, but let's not worry about that. Text, so we'll change the text to Arial style. Please do choose Arial. And then the text color should be by layer, and fill, we don't want any fill. Text height should be 150. And that will mean the preview window now looks a lot better. For the offset from the dimension line, so at the moment you can see in the preview window the text is sitting on the line. We don't want that. Let's offset it by 50. Fit then, so this means when there's not enough room between the dimension lines or the extension lines, what do you do with the text? We want to keep it always between the extension lines. Lastly then, primary units, decimal is what we want. Precision, let's make it 0. And we will change the decimal separator to period because there are a few dimensions that we will want to have 1 decimal point with, but we'll change those ones manually. Keep it as standard precision 0. At this stage, that should be everything. So let's click OK and click on GA dim style and click set current. Click close, and then if we go back to the home tab, everything should be okay at this stage. So I'm not necessarily going to draw all the dimensions, but let's draw some examples. We're on the right layer. Start off with a standard dimension, and we can click here and here and offset. So we want an offset distance of 200. That means that there's a space here of 100 for the extension line to start. And then there's also 100 between the start of the extension line and the dimension line. I should actually have stayed on the Annotate tab. So if you have one dimension drawn and then you want to continue on a line, you can click on the Continue option there, like so. And then we can draw another new dimension down this side. Again, offsetting that by 200. Then we can click Continue and go down the side of the house, making sure that we click on the endpoints beside the window openings and the sizing of the wall and so on. Down at the bottom then, so the first dimension, we'll need to offset that more because the text comes in between the wall and the dimension line. So let's choose 400, see what that looks like. Okay, that's probably the minimum you can get away with. In some cases, if you've got a porch or an offset on the front of the building, you do need to use different dimensions there. So we can click on Continue again and keep going with the dimensions. Now, let's say you hit Escape and then you realize, actually, there's one more dimension I should have done there. You can do quick and easy things like mirror a dimension around another dimension, and then we can fix that. Or indeed, you can copy a dimension and resize it as well. Internally then, let's do a few examples. So let's see, we'll draw a dimension from here down to here. And with this, you do need to be careful where you place it. We don't really want to interfere with the numbers of the stairs, and we don't want to overlap it with the arrow that shows the direction up the stairs. So let's try a distance of 250 there. That seems about right. That didn't work. Let's try again. So it does take a little bit of care sometimes just with where you want to place the dimensions. 200, yeah, so that's not necessarily going to work. I'll just move it over a little bit more by 150. That's probably sufficient at this stage. The next dimension then, the width of the hallway there. So again, we want to move it down. It's not giving me the dimensions in proportion to where the endpoint is, unfortunately here, but stair treads are about 220, so I would say maybe 350 down. Again, things just aren't working out quite the way they normally do. That's just typical whenever I'm recording a demo as such. Make sure the cursor's in the right direction. Let's try 350 again. That's better. Let's choose a couple in the kitchen area then. So in this case, we don't really want the dimension too close to the window. Otherwise that might interfere with interpreting just what's happening with the sink and so on there. Let's use that endpoint, move it down. So we'll try and put it roughly in the middle of the hob there. So let's make the distance 300. And then a dimension going the other direction. We may not want it to interfere with the doorway, so let's draw this dimension this size round, or this side over. And again, we'll type in distance of 300. That doesn't look too bad at this stage. There is this dimension here that we would definitely want to put in just to show where the door is. Again, just you need to remember that the text is in there, unlike what I've just done. So sometimes you may need to offset a line by 400, for example there, and then move the endpoint of the dimension line just to show that more clearly. 350 might have been okay also. So that's a few examples internally. For efficiency for the video, I've added in all the dimensions now, but let's just check a few things. So I had forgotten to delete the temporary line just to create that dimension there. And also now notice that these dimensions here are a little bit strange. So these are going to be or they need to be updated. So we can go to properties, right click and go to properties, or if you have it docked like me, you can hover over. So we're looking for the primary units section, and for the precision we can choose 0.0, so that's 1 decimal point. And then what we can do is use the match properties tool for any other dimensions that need to be fixed in the same way, like so. Also just check that your placement of your text isn't going to interfere with anything. So for example, down here, potentially that one is a little bit close. We can hopefully move that up by 100 just to make it a little bit clearer and freer from the W for the wardrobe there. And are there any others? Well, this one here is kind of in the doorway, but we want a piece of text to go in here, so that's going to be okay, I think. And just be careful overall, as I said, with the placement of those pieces of dimension text. One other aspect is making sure that they don't interfere with the room labels, which is in the next video. What we can do is turn back on the hatching layer at this stage. So that's everything we need to do up to this stage for this video.